Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm recording this video after EgyCon is over, as I'd like to briefly talk about the overall experience and some tips for others who are about to participate in their first convention. I'm aware that advice that can be suitable for one person in a certain location might not be very realistic for someone someplace else, but still I hope these benefit somebody in some way. And since this was my first real participation at an artist alley, I did not end up making a profit. However, I did learn some very valuable lessons and gain some people's genuine interest in my work. I'm really sorry to say that there was no time for me to record any of the interesting stuff going on at the convention. I've been either at my table, or getting food, or going to the bathroom, or looking at other people's merch for a few minutes at a time. So I'll be linking to the convention's official Facebook page in the description box below in case you're interested in watching some of the videos other people have taken. I'm also going to include some footage taken by other people, and I'm going to include their channels down in the description. So I mentioned the convention EgyCon in the previous video. It's the biggest anime and manga convention in Egypt, and it was on Jan 31st of this year. As always, there were some cool cosplayers and a stage where people could sing and have a whole karaoke section. There were many Japanese food vendors, of course, and very importantly, the gaming lounge, which is one of the highlights of the event and is always one of the most crowded parts of the entire venue. It's basically an esports event within the convention, and it's very, very competitive. I'm not a competitive player myself at all, so I don't participate in these tournaments, and the waiting lines are so long they would put me off anyway. One section of the venue was entirely dedicated to the anime and manga merchandise shops, and the space behind them is where the artist alley is. I was literally the farthest table in the entire venue. I was the very last spot you would pass by as a visitor. The artist alley had only about 8 artists, who of course were sharing their creations, 100% their own work. What I noticed about some of the anime shops, however, is that besides selling some cool merchandise like figurines and cosplay accessories, some were selling art from the internet. I recognized some of the art they were selling as posters and notebooks and whatnot. I kept thinking about how upset many internet artists would be if they saw that, and I wasn't feeling good about it either. But then I remembered who the target audience is: little kids. And here's the reality, although I definitely don't like it. Little kids won't notice or truly understand if the merch they're buying is being ethically handled. Many of these kids don't really understand or care if the work was literally downloaded from the internet for free and sold on printed products. All that 9 or 10-year-old kid cares about is that the poster is cheap enough to buy on his or her limited allowance, period. And the anime shops know that. Us artists, on the other hand, sold our creations for more money because it cost us significantly more to actually produce the work, and we're also printing every single thing on our own dime. That, though, makes it harder for kids to buy from you. Simple example. I sold some A4 and A3 size posters, but hardly sold 10 in total because my competition, the anime stores, were selling them for less than 60% of what I was charging. Of course the kids are gonna go with the cheaper options. And here's the thing. Because the anime stores know that if they import these posters from abroad and go through the proper channels of licensing and getting each and every artist permission to sell their work, they're going to have to charge a lot of money for each item, and the kids are not gonna buy anything. Stay with me. I had to talk about the anime shops before talking about my tips on how to prepare for your own artist alley, because I needed to paint a clear image to you as to how and why those shops were brutal competition to us artists in the artist alley. First of all, they got the much better location. The venue was organized in a way that visitors would have to pass through the anime shops first before they arrive at the artist alley, which was far back away from all the important stuff happening. So by the time people arrive at the artist alley, they've already splurged most of their budget. Second, these anime shops had the advantage of mass printing, thus lower prices. They printed hundreds of fan arts and official artwork, and they did not have to take into consideration anything involving the artist's monetary compensation or licensing. All they had to consider in terms of expenses is the store rent and the salespeople's salaries. There may be other overheads for sure, but the conclusion is artist compensation and licensing is definitely not something they took into consideration, which lowered their prices a decent bit. Considering these two brutal competitive advantages, here are the 6 things I did that helped me gain some attention and some sales. The first point is utilizing social media. I specifically used Instagram and Facebook to publicize the kind of work I'll be sharing at the convention. And then I asked, practically pestered, my friends to share my posts and tell their friends. Then I created a simple ad for the convention's official Facebook page to advertise my table and the kind of work I'm offering. The organizers of the convention were graceful, to be honest, and they gave me a little bit of exposure. The second point is diversifying your table. I knew selling only posters and prints would get me basically nowhere and wouldn't catch people's eye long enough, so I made sure my table was a little varied. In addition to posters, I also created coasters, coffee mugs, stickers, sketchbooks, notebooks, and bookmarks. Notice that all these things are very light to carry and affordable to buy, and more importantly, they are usable everyday products. You can't really use a poster except as decoration, and that's just not for everybody. But everyone is going to use something like a notebook or a mug. So do yourself a favor and make sure to sell simple but useful products that people will feel are worth buying. The third point is to diversify the fandoms and characters you're displaying and make sure you have some work of mainstream shows on hand. Some properties are popular even years after they're over, such as Death Note, Fullmetal Alchemist, and classic Naruto. And if you're only creating art for a couple niche shows, no matter how great they are, you're going to end up selling very little. So make sure you have enough art of some of the popular anime shows at the current time and from a few years back. The fourth point is to not overprint. And when you have such harsh competition, you're gonna end up with a lot of extra unsold goodies. So keep your numbers modest. Knowing the average number of visitors to the convention can also help you make estimates of how much you should be printing. EgyCon was estimating this year's crowd to be about 3,000 to 3,500 people. And while that may seem like a big number of buyers, that's not the case at all. It means only a few people will actually buy something from you. So I kept my numbers of products very modest. For example, I only went to the convention with 7 coffee mugs in 3 different designs. I printed a grand total of 25 coasters, 14 A4 posters, and just 5 A3 posters. A total of 20 notebooks. You get the idea. A quick tip to make your life easier is to use a travel bag with wheels to move all your stuff to and from the convention, instead of carrying boxes and dragging random containers around. The fifth point is to be creative with how you display your work. I had none of these metal display things that some artists use to showcase their work on a vertical surface, though it would have made my table so much easier to navigate. All I could do was select the posters I wanted displayed at which corners of the table and generally try to make the cheapest products, such as the stickers, very cutely assembled and easy to spot even from a few feet away. Also bear in mind that if your table is small, like mine was, layout and prioritizing what art should take center stage is extremely important, because most people will not flip stuff over to look at what's underneath. It's your job to make the art and products you think people would be interested in very visible, very easy to look at without having to touch it or even move a muscle. And this brings us to the sixth point. Make sure your products have different price points, and make sure you have at least one item that is so cheap people won't hesitate to buy one. For me, that was the bookmarks and the stickers. Mugs and sketchbooks, on the other hand, were considered the priciest thing on my table. But when you place stickers and bookmarks priced at just 50 cents next to them, they can make people stick around for just a while longer. And if there is one thing this convention taught me, is that people love stickers more than I ever thought possible. And if someone didn't have enough leftover money to buy a mug of their favorite character, but that character was also available as a sticker, they went for the sticker. But I also advise against using the same artwork across all types of products you're selling. That can make your table look really repetitive and boring. Sometimes I would make one artwork available as a sticker and a mug, or a sketchbook and a poster. But I also made it a point to create some unique art that was only printed on one thing. You want that variety to keep people interested and continue scanning your table. And these are the 6 tips I wanted to share from my experience selling at EgyCon. If you'd like to ask anything I didn't mention here or share your own experiences with conventions in your country, please comment and let me know. I'd love to have a discussion about this. I'm active on Tumblr and Instagram, as some of you know, so feel free to talk to me there as well. I really hope you liked this video and overlooked my non-existent editing skills. I'm sorry. If you liked it, please subscribe and press the thumbs up to let me know I did something right, please. So until next time, I hope you have a lovely day and bye-bye.